me today is Mac Zilber. Mac is a principal of J&Z Consulting. So first of all, thanks for joining us, Mac.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Before we talk about politics, tell us a little bit. Now, these are people who are reading the Fullerton Observer. So give us an idea of what J&Z does. What's the scope of your activities?
Yeah, so J&Z Strategies, we are a democratic political consulting firm, and what we do largely falls into three different buckets. The first is what we would call general consulting, which is when a candidate wants to run for office, we will help them build their campaign team, we will come up with their campaign plan, their strategy, and put the people around them to put them in a position to succeed. The second thing we do is the advertising side, so we are ad makers for campaigns. We will run video shoots and put together creative, direct mail, and that sort of thing. And the third piece that we'll do is for certain groups that want to pass legislation, we will help them put together ad campaigns and other collateral to help get that legislation passed, so labor unions and other interest groups that want to pass bills.
And this is primarily in California?
Primarily in California, though we do work throughout the western states and some work nationally.
Well, our focus today is going to be a combination of California and Orange County. So you've done some stuff in Orange County, I'm sure.
Yep, that's right.
So what I'd like to ask you about with that background, this is a Democratic convention.
Yep.
Everybody says the Democratic Party's in trouble. So you've consulted with a lot of candidates.
Yep.
What do you think is the status of the Democratic Party here in California? You think we're still in pretty good shape?
So the Democratic Party in California, I think, has an interesting contradiction where it stands right now, where on the one hand, we are likely nationally to gain seats in 2026. It's the first midterm of a new president's term. Typically, that means that new president is going to lose a lot of seats. Currently, the polling looks fairly good on the national level as far as the ability to gain seats, but I don't think that necessarily means that we fixed our broader structural issues that kind of put us in the place where we've lost a couple cycles in a row.
Well, how would you define those broader structural issues? I mean, that's what it's all about. What are those issues?
I mean, I think that a lot of Californians perceive that the quality of life in the state is declining, and our party has, for better and for worse, we've been in charge of almost every level of government within California. Local level, state level, essentially every branch, and so we get a lot of blame for that. There's a lot of things that California has done really well. I mean, we're up to the fourth biggest economy in the world. We have the most patents of any state in the country. We have some of the best health outcomes of any state in the country, some of the best, life expectancy of any state in the country, but there's a lot of places that we're doing really badly. I mean, we are among the most rent-burdened and housing-burdened states in the country. Poverty rates relative to the cost of living are higher than a lot of other states. We're not doing great on a lot of fronts, and so, people are frustrated, and California Democrats, to a certain extent, are getting a lot of that blame. So while at the national level we may gain some ground, I think at the state level we are at this turning point where we need to start showing people, results, and that we're including.
Well, so there's some national issues, there's statewide issues. Now, Orange County, as you know much better than most people, is kind of a typical purple district now, right? It could go either way, and seats go back and forth. So what's your take on Orange County right now? What do you think are the biggest challenges for the Democratic Party in Orange County specifically?
I think among the biggest challenges for the Democratic Party in Orange County specifically is the fact that voters do seem to really differentiate between the state level and the federal level as far as how they view the Democratic Party, and especially here. We saw in almost every election last cycle, there was a pretty significant gap between the Democrats running for Congress and Senate, who did fairly well in Orange County, and the Democrats running for state legislature, who typically were several points behind. And I think a lot of people are differentiating that, yes, on the federal level, they want Democrats to protect abortion. At the state level, they don't like the way public safety is going. They might not like housing prices. They don't want their taxes and gas prices going up, all that sort of thing.
So this is the problem with generalizations. We might say it's purple, but it's not purple all the way through.
Exactly.
It's a little bit more blue at the top and a little bit more red at the bottom.
Right, and when you go even further down to the bottom, to the local level, it's very red. Like, you've got a lot of cities that have Democratic registration pluralities that have been voting Democratic at the presidential level for a while, but still may have Republican majority city councils.
So one of the things that I think we should talk about that maybe the voting public doesn't realize is the difference between the registration numbers and the turnout numbers.
Right. Yeah, so typically Democrats statewide historically used to turn out at a lower percentage than their registration numbers. Like places that had Democratic registration advantages, that was table stakes. You needed to have a Democratic registration advantage for a Democrat to even have a shot at winning. That is turning around a little bit. We're now starting to live in this bizarro world where Republicans actually turn out more in presidential years and high turnout elections than Democrats do, and Democrats tend to perform better in special elections and low turnout midterms. This is largely, I think, due to the educational realignment of the parties, where typically higher educated, more affluent folks have been shifting to the Democrats and vice versa to the Republicans. So I think it's an open question what that means for 2026. Like historically, midterms are better for Republicans, but the last couple cycles, it's kind of been the opposite.
Well, it's definitely a more unpredictable environment all across the board.
Right.
But last thing for you, in this coming cycle, just from a J&Z point of view, how many races are you involved in right here in Southern California?
In Southern California, we're probably general consulting on 6 to 8 state legislative races, a couple congressional races, and then on the advertising side, we'll typically work on a lot of additional races where we're not the primary consultant, but we'll do the advertising on.
Well, that's great. We appreciate your insight.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mac.
Thanks.